What do you see as the single biggest gap in people's current offers that is holding them back from scaling?
Well, if your offer's not working, there's only two reasons your offer's not working. Either you're not emotionally connecting the audience or you're pricing the product wrong. Chances are, right? The value is not enough. You haven't convinced people the value enough to get the price that it takes to cover the cost of the traffic. This business is about two things: mathematics and emotions. Only two things. If you've got a good emotional offer, you're almost always going to cover the mathematics. But if you price the offer too low and you can't buy the media or the traffic to get to it, the offer ain't going to work. That's A. B, if the math is right, now you got to get down to the emotions. And the product itself is so critically important. People want to make everything work because of the offer or the conversion software they're using or the trick that they're using. The truth is, if you ain't selling what they want, they ain't going to buy it. And I say this constantly to people. This is a great question to ask yourself. Are you selling what you want to sell, or are you selling what the audience wants to buy? Because if you're selling what you want to sell, good luck. You might get lucky and pull it off, but 9 times out of 10, you won't. You need to be pulling an avatar on your customers. You need to be doing a real SWOT analysis. You need to be doing really competitive research. People don't know who their competitors are in the market, what shit's selling for, what people really want. Looking at forums, getting the real pain points out there. So do your goddamn homework. People don't want to do, people don't even work. They just want it to fall. They want to, oh, I'm starting an online business. I just hit a button and all of a sudden money's going to show up under my pillow. Bullshit. It doesn't work that way. I've sold almost $1 billion. I probably sold over $1 billion of the product online. I start by looking at the customer. What's the customer wanting that they're not getting? If you have competitive products on Amazon, a great thing to look at, little tip, is to look at the negative comments on the product. That'll tell you, if you pick the top 10 products and research the negative comments on them, it'll tell you what's missing in the market. Reddit is a freaking treasure trove of people bitching. And you find out what they're bitching about the most, you overcome that, and you got a winner. Now, you sell what they want, you sell at a price that covers traffic, make sure you've built the value of the product up enough to justify your price, and most offers will work. Most offers don't work because people are stupid.
When you have to rebuild an offer to be irresistible, where do you start? What do you change first? Because everything follows suit. Would it be positioning, pricing, packaging, or promise?
So when people send me offers and they say, hey, Perry, can you fix my offer? Can you review my offer? So much of the time, it's a game of subtraction. They've buried the lead. They don't have a good promise. They've not promised anything. People need to know within 3 seconds what's in it for me. What do you got? What's it going to cost me? What do you want me to do next? What's it going to do for me? What's going to cost me? What do you want me to do next? Those are the four. Or John Carlton, my buddy, says, what do you got? What's it going to do for me? What do you want me to do next? I think, what do you got? What's it going to do for me? What's it going to cost? And what do you want me to do next? If you look at pricing is emphatically important. Any guru, idiot who's ever told you, oh, it doesn't matter. Price doesn't matter if you got a good enough headline. Price doesn't matter if the product. Bullshit. Price matters. It's the number one testing element ever to matter in a testing platform. Price, because people read the promise and they immediately zoom. If you got a long form sales letter, they immediately zoom down to the price. They see the promise, they see the price. If the price doesn't match the promise, if the price is too high for the promise, they're going to bug out. If it's reasonable, then they're going to go back and read the rest of the message. And you get a chance to sell them and sure them up. By the way, when they're reading the rest of your message, they're not looking for a reason to buy. They're looking for a reason not to buy. So you don't want to make more promises. The big thing about an offer is one big idea. You can only sell one big idea in an offer. You can't sell 10. And the more promises you make through that offer, the more bullshit you sound like. The more people have the opportunity to call bullshit on you, especially since you're probably justifying that one big promise. And then you start making all these little promises and you have no justification to go with them. So they have the opportunity to call bullshit on you. So if you want to stick to one big idea, make sure the price justifies the value, and most offers will work. Cut out all the fluff. Edit violently. Anything that doesn't help you to get that customer over the finish line, edit out. But you do need to have a reasonable amount of time for them to be involved in learning about what you have to sell. So there's a balance in there, right? People will not give you their money without first giving you their time in any big amounts. I can write 200 words on a sales page and sell you a $9 thing. But if I'm going to sell you a $9,000 thing, I'm going to have you in a live event for 2 days or on a live workshop for a couple of days. If I'm going to sell you a $500 thing, I'm going to have you on a webinar for 2 or 3 hours to do it. The amount of time people equate to when they make a purchase, especially if they didn't know, if they weren't in the journey of already being in the market searching for that thing, is incredibly important. It just won't work. You can't do a 2-minute infomercial and sell a $500 exercise machine. You'll never see it because it ain't never going to work. If you see the guy selling the exercise machine, it's a 30-minute infomercial or an hour-long infomercial. If they're selling if they're selling a salad shooter for $9.95, that's a 2-minute commercial. You could do that. So it's the same. It's an impulse purchase versus something that really takes. I don't have the time here to talk about it, but the customer has to enter something called a temporary suspension of belief. It means that for a minute, their bias toward whatever you're talking about is suspended. And you suspend bias with stories. We go to the movies to be taken out of reality for a couple hours, to suspend our reality. So when you're selling in a long form style, that's the reason storytelling and long form sales letters and VSLs and all that, it always works. Because it relaxes the mind and gives people the ability to take a different approach or a different opinion on something. But notice there's a big word in there. It's called a temporary suspension of belief. Most people's beliefs are never changed, are very, 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 very difficult to change. The idea that your sales letter or your pitch is going to change the way they believe in something is not a reality. But it may suspend their belief in that thing just long enough for them to pull the trigger and buy your thing. We interrupt this pod to bring you this really special announcement. You need to go right now. Well, maybe they want to go right now. Want to stop?
No, at the end. We don't want to have them stop.
Go to trainwreckshow.com. There's lots of bots there, GPT bots that do things for you, that do a lot of your work. So you don't have to work so much. You can drink more beer. The episode archives are over there. There's all of our resources, worksheets, workbooks. Everything that we've done that we give away is over there. Go get it right now. There's a lot of resources there. Way more resources than you get when you buy a lot of communities, I think.
And don't forget to like and subscribe so that you can catch every episode as soon as it hits. We'll send you a notification.
It doesn't mean you're liking Emma, by the way, because I know that slows us down on our likes. You can just click and say, I like Perry. You don't have to like Emma. It works the same way.
Funnel or front-end product. If you had to start all over again, would you build today?
Man, if I had to start all over again today, I'd probably sell a physical good. It depends. It's a loaded question. People ask that all the time. What would you do if you had to start all over? Have I got any money? No. If I've got money, how much have I got? If I've got some money, I'm probably going to do a physical product, because physical products convert at 10 times the rate of digital products. Everybody has this fantasy. I'm going to be in the digital product business because it doesn't cost anything. So it's all profit. It's such bullshit. You have to spend 5 times more on advertising to sell the digital good. So sometimes you'd just rather sell the widget, spend a very little amount of advertising, delivering a real thing and real value. And when a real thing gets in people's hands, the relationship you have with that customer where you landed a physical product in their hands is different than the relationship you have with them when you land a digital product in their hands. You have a different level. That's a reason you sell a book. That's a reason almost all gurus sell books. I might buy the digital product later, but I want to read the guy's book first. I want to get acquainted with this physical connection. And it's a giant piece of the puzzle.
What is the fastest way to build trust and convert cold traffic?
Yeah.
That to me is a really hard question.
It's an easy question.
Okay. I feel like you need to know the niche.
The fastest way to build trust and increase conversion, I guess, the idea to building trust is to increase conversion, to get somebody to buy something, right? Because that's what we do, is the 7-11-4 principle. It's just getting your content in front of people for 7 hours in 11 different interactions in 4 different settings. If I were dating, I'd want to take a girl on 3 dates, approximately 2.5 hours a date. I'd want to send her 11 text messages, phone calls, smoke signals, love letters, gifts, whatever. And I'd want to take her to 4 different places. I want to meet her in 4 different places. They always tell you, the dating guys will tell you, never take a girl back to the same place. Not when you're initially dating. Now, customers are the same way. So if you're getting them to absorb your podcast, your books, your webinars, your workshops, whatever, for 7 hours, they answer 11 emails or text messages from you or pops up from you or whatever. And then if they see you on video as one medium and audio as another medium and written blogs as another medium and maybe a live event as another medium, what that means is you're going to build, I wouldn't know if you call it building trust. What you're doing is giving someone the ability to form an opinion about you. The fact that I take that girl out on the 3 dates doesn't mean that we're going to have a romantic relationship. It's that she has enough information to make a decision about me to decide if we're going to have an emotional relationship. Same with your customer. The customers, typically speaking, everybody wants to fuck on the first date. They do. Marketers are the worst about it. They call it, Daniel Priestley, my buddy, calls it pitch slapping. So soon as somebody raises their head and goes, yeah, I might look at that, you slap a pitch on them, right? They don't have enough information to make a decision. It wouldn't be any different than you walking in a bar and just walking up to each girl in the bar saying, hey, you want to screw? And yeah, and if you catch one, by the way, don't take her home to mom and be sure you wash up, because it's going to be, and the same's true here. If you catch customers the same way, they will be the worst customer you will ever have. They will be the worst customer they ever have, because they just bought on some sort of a whim, freakish impulse, because they were just in a certain mood that day. They're not committed customers, and you really don't want them. You don't want those customers for the most part.
Where are you buying traffic today? And how are you scaling it profitably without burning cash?
Supply and demand is a funny thing. It works in negative. I talk about it a lot with products and selling something that there's more demand, there is supply. When you get to advertising and how you're going to buy advertising today, everybody's doing the same damn thing. Everybody's going to Facebook and Google. Everybody goes to Facebook and Google. So they've got this enormous amount of people trying to buy traffic for them. When you've got all these other platforms that in aggregate, believe it or not, are far bigger than Facebook and Google, but they're a little harder to navigate. Buying Pinterest ads. You can buy ads on Pinterest for pennies. Buying ads on TikTok, buying ads on Snapchat that people don't think about, buying ads on Reddit where people are expressing their opinions. All these platforms are all less expensive than advertising on Facebook and Google, yet people throw 90 cents on the dollar of their advertising budget to those two platforms. So the question was, where would I buy advertising today, or where am I buying advertising today? Where others aren't. That's the secret. Buy it where others aren't. Direct email drops are a good place to buy traffic. Nobody does that. Direct mail to your existing customer list. It's hard to lose money with direct mail. Not to cold, but if you have existing customers, sending them direct mail offers, it's hard to lose money. There are so many platforms out there. So the question is, everybody wants you to give them the magic answer. Oh, this one place is where I buy traffic, like Telegram. There's people, I got a buddy of mine making $100,000 a day on Telegram right now. It's crazy, these platforms that you can buy on, but it's going to take a lot of them. You're going to have to kiss a lot of frogs. And advertising agencies know this. If you're Ford, you're not on one radio station in a market. You're on all of them. You're not on one TV station in a market. You're on all of them. Because you're getting something in the advertising world called a CUM, C-U-M. It's an accumulated audience, right? An accumulative audience. They add up the media points that you get from advertising these different places and give you an accumulative audience average. That's a little technical, but the answer is be omnipresent. If you can't do anything else, buy retargeting on YouTube, Facebook, Google, and all the platforms through something like not mid-roll, but Targeter or one of those platforms that do omnipresent retargeting. If you're not retargeting the customers that are hitting your website organically, you're crazy. That's the best traffic you can possibly get. It's low volume, but it's also low risk and low cost.
What backend monetization strategies do you use to increase your LTV?
I got bad news. If you don't have a back-end monetization strategy, don't be in this business. You just can't. Not anymore. The days of I'm going to sell an ebook and I'm going to get rich selling an ebook because I can buy nickel traffic from Facebook and sell my ebook for $79, that ship has sailed, right? Today, there's a water line, I call it. Everything that I sell up to $1,000 in my business, I give 100% of the money back to advertising because I've got $3,000, $10,000, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 things that I can sell to those customers. But here's the thing. Just because you sold them something in the beginning doesn't mean they're going to buy the other thing. Here's what's going to make them buy the other thing. If they give you $50 for something, you better deliver them $500 worth of value. If they give you $500, you better deliver $5,000 worth of value. If you'll do those things, it's a reverse Ponzi scheme. I swear to God, it really is. It's a reverse Ponzi scheme. Look at how did Bernie Madoff get billions of dollars? People invested money. He gave them more than a fair return back. So they invested more. So he gave them more than a fair return back. So they invested more. It was a scam, and he ripped people off using that method. But the truth of it is, the nature of that method works extraordinarily well. So if you get somebody to give you a little bit of money and you give them back a whole lot more value, they're going to always want to give you more money. It makes the subsequent sales, you don't even have to sell them. They'll come to you to give you more money. Doesn't matter. But you got to be sure that you work that value ladder up, and you got to have things on the back end to sell that are more expensive. If you don't in today's market, advertising costs is too high. You won't make it. That's just unfortunately the truth of that.